That was meant to be much more dramatic. How's it, everyone? This is Lolcohol, and in today's video we are going to be going over the massive improvements to item drops. I can't fake it anymore. I'm very sad and not happy with the state of the game. So we're going to go over this post, which is the third tone-deaf response to the community that we've had this week. And I'm going to explain why I think it's bad and sad and wish that they would just stop and make the game how it was. So for anyone who isn't aware, I'm going to link Snap's video in the description where he goes over the previous post where GGG mentions something about a change to the historic item quantity that affected almost all league mechanics and why it pretty much brick drops in a lot of cases. Not all, but in a lot. And I don't know why GGG is tripling down on this, but let's go through it. So, improvements to item drops. We will deploy a patch soon that significantly improves item drops throughout Path of Exile. This post broadly describes the major changes. Detailed patch notes will be posted later. We have massively increased the rarity bonus for items dropped by monsters with multiple Archnemesis mods. This is proportionate to difficulty, so there's a moderate improvement to 2 mods, no exact number, please give us numbers. A large improvement for 3 mods, again no number, and a huge improvement for 4 mods. We're gonna have to get in game and see how this feels, but I'm skeptical, especially since they're being a bit cagey with exact numbers. Please, I don't know if this is gonna be enough. I understand what you're trying to do with Archnemesis. You want to slow down the game, have more beefy boys to punch, and then when we kill them, they drop a bunch of stuff, but I don't like it. Archnemesis is the worst. So I would rather just not have Archnemesis, have the normal drop rate, and then find items like that. We have massively increased the rarity of items dropped by map bosses. They now act like act bosses who also drop garbage, dropping fewer normal and magic items, but many more rare and unique items. Now this is something that I think is a push for PoE to be a bit more like Diablo 2. I absolutely love Diablo 2. It's my favorite game of all time, but this does not work in Path of Exile, and I'm going to go over why. So firstly, Path of Exile has, I think at this point, close to 1,500 uniques. Diablo 2, on the other hand, has about 350 uniques, and then I think 150 set items. So there's a much more narrow pool of items, unique items in Diablo 2. So of course, if there are fewer items and a unique item drops, there are fewer items to choose from, you have a higher chance to get something that's actually useful. Bossing in PoE, we don't boss to find upgrades for our build. I don't think this is going to change anything. As for that, we have globally increased the drop rate of unique items by 33%. Now, because they completely demolished the drops in the game, that's my cat sneezing, sorry. 33% of whatever the new number is probably still going to feel worse than it did before this patch. I don't know, we're going to have to get in game, but a lot of people are saying that drop rates were reduced by 90%. I think that's only in some very specific circumstances like high juicing. But I don't think this is going to be enough because they already said that they nerfed the drop rate of unique items. I don't think they said exactly by how much, but they're trying to band-aid it. We've also globally increased the drop rate of currency items by 25%. Again, if you nerf it by, let's say, 50% and then buff it by 25%, it's not going to be 75% of what it was. It's going to be I don't know, maths. It's not going to be good. I don't know why there is this attempt to create a band-aid solution for a problem that was created by yourself. You can fix all of this by hitting Ctrl Z on whatever change you made to the drops and just going back to what worked for like 12 years. I don't know why this change was made in the first place. It is mind-blowing that the core foundation of loot drops in an ARPG was abruptly changed, let alone without any notice to the player base, and now we all hate it, and now you're trying to fix it with these tiny little buffs. Just go back to how it was. If you make a post saying, we have decided to just go back to how it was, people would rejoice. They would be happy. I think it might be at this point, now that you've tripled down on it, at this point, some people are going to be too far gone. But why are you doing this? You've created a problem and now you're trying to fix it when there was no problem to begin with. If you want to make Archnemesis super giga tanky and drop tons of good stuff, then why also then nerf the drop rate of the entire game? Archnemesis should feel good in context to what we had before, right? If we were getting, let's say, an Exalt an hour, and then Archnemesis was really hard, but it was giving us another Exalt an hour on average, that might feel alright. But instead, now we're getting like 5 Chaos an hour, and Archnemesis drops a Shrieking Essence of Scorn. It just feels like there wasn't a problem was created, and now the solution to the problem is bad, and I don't understand it. Another thing about this, in terms of uniques, and I think trying to go more in the direction of Diablo 2, is itemization in general. So let's have a look at the affix pool of Diablo 2, right? Diablo 2 has phenomenal itemization, but it is far less complex than Path of Exile. Now over here, we have a list of affixes in Diablo 2. I'm very peepo blanket today. This is how I'm coping, right? Contents. Now this is for weapons, armor, boots, helmets, charms, amulets, jewelry, belts, and rings. We have 13, 14 prefixes and 16 suffixes. This is about 30 modifiers that can roll on rare items, and this is why you can actually find some good items in Diablo 2 on the ground that are upgrades for your builds, because the pool is so much smaller, you can actually get combinations that fit. If, let's say, 10,000 items on the ground drop, there's a chance that there's going to be a combination of these that's actually useful for your build. However, let's have a quick look at Path of Exile's affix pool. Now this is going to be for body armor, dexterity body armor. And what do we have? We've got things like evasion rating, hybrid evasion, flat evasion, life, hybrid life, resistances, regen. Now this was the original pool of modifiers when the game came out, but then of course we started getting influence modifiers. So we have Crusader, which has 8 special modifiers, each with multiple tiers. We also have elevated mods, which cannot drop on the ground. We have Shaper. Shaper has 10 modifiers. Elder has 8. Hunter 8 or 7, whatever. You get the picture. There's tons and tons and tons of mods. We also have special fossil mods. We have incursion mods. We have veiled mods. We have crafted mods. We have delve mods. We have essence mods. We have other. We have sentinel mods. We have Val implicit. We have searing exarch and Eater of Worlds mods. This is why Path of Exile has the best, hands down, itemization in, I think, probably any game, any ARPG. This is why we love this game. This is why we love crafting, because there is no chance that any item will ever drop on the ground that has a set of combination of mods that is good enough compared to a crafted item where you have some form of control. there are too many modifiers. This is for body armor, by the way. Like I said, the previous thing with Diablo was 30 modifiers. That was for everything. This is for one specific armor slot. We have boots, gloves, flasks, helmets, jewelry, jewels, offhands, weapons, all of this. Each of these with pools of modifiers that are as complex as one another. I don't know exactly how many modifiers there are in PoE, but it's hundreds. It's hundreds compared to Diablo 2. So trying to make this push for more rare items to be falling on the ground, for Archnemesis monsters to be dropping rare items, it's never going to happen that this is superior to crafting, which is why when we get down to harvest, this is why it's so frustrating when you nerf crafting and make it harder. The change with Divine Orbs to Exiles immediately made that much more expensive because we don't have shards, we don't have div cards. There was a recipe, but it was removed for some reason. So now crafting, at least meta crafting, is much harder. On top of that, Harvest was pretty much nuked. They have reduced the cost of many Harvest crafts. Great. I'm in on this. Nice, twice as cheap, cool, but some of them were way too expensive. They needed to be like 10 times cheaper. And then on top of that, there was like a sly removal where more likely or more common modifiers were adjusted, and most players missed it until Iron pointed it out. So Harvest's power level has been completely obliterated in a lot of instances. Also, some really useful crafts were just straight up removed. Those are not filler crafts. This is how good items are made in Path of Exile. I don't understand why you would take all this time to create a beautiful itemization system with an incredibly complex and amazing semi-deterministic, sometimes semi-deterministic crafting system, and now you're trying to get it out of the game? I don't know why you're doing this. It's frustrating that this is even happening, and I don't understand it. I don't know what the direction is. Maybe you should tell the community, hey, this is what we want the game to look like. Give us the end goal so that we can see in which direction we are moving without these constant incremental pushes in a direction, and then we're not sure where the game is going. And then you have things like this where harvest is being changed and you're making it harder to get better items. I'm at the point where every time I log in, I spend about an hour playing, and by the end of it, I'm not having fun. I'm not enjoying it. The entire atmosphere of the entire game is just so negative that I don't want to play, and I feel gross afterwards. So I don't know if I'm going to keep playing this patch. I don't think so, especially now that you've not only doubled down but tripled down on this, a problem that could be easily fixed by just going back to how things were when they functioned. So I think we'll see what happens. Worst case scenario, I just don't upload videos for 3 months until there's some adjustment, or we do some kind of community crafting where people say, hey, bring me your item. Well, I say, bring me your item, I'll craft it for you, I'll make a video and upload it. But this kind of thing is getting so frustrating to the point that I almost don't want to make a Path of Exile video at this point. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen next. One thing I will say is I am probably still going to stream more, so if I don't make videos, I'll try instead invest that time into streaming. We can play other ARPGs like what's that new Vampire V Rising, or Elden Ring, or I don't know, Diablo 2. We can see what there is. This is a very dramatic video, but I think I've been playing this game for 10 years. I love this game, and I'm mind blown more than I've ever been. I was on board for the 3.15 changes when everyone else was having a panic attack, but this is too far. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I just wish they would back off, get rid of Archnemesis, just give us Harvest. Let us use the tools that you've put in the game. That's it. I don't know why you want to die on this hill, man. Like, Alright, so yeah, that's enough crying.